What if one decision at a party could change your brain forever? Jake was 25, a regular guy. He had a job, a playlist full of 2000-second rock, and friends who liked weekend bonfires and fast food runs. But on one Friday night in the suburbs of Phoenix, something shifted. Someone passed him a small glass pipe and with a laugh said, "Just try it, it's better than Red Bull." So Jake did. And in seconds, his brain lit up like the Vegas Strip. But what actually happened in Jake's head? Methamphetamine doesn't gently tap on the brain's door. It kicks it open. In a matter of seconds, meth triggers the brain to release a massive wave of dopamine, the chemical that says, "This feels amazing. Do it again." Dopamine is your brain's reward currency. We release a little when we eat, hug, or get a compliment. But meth floods the system up to 10 times the normal amount. Imagine getting a standing ovation, winning the lottery, and falling in love all at once. Then multiply it by 100. That's what Jake's brain felt in that moment. But here's the catch. The brain wasn't built to handle that much pleasure, that fast. So what happens next? Why does a single hit feel like a superpower, while the aftermath drags you through exhaustion, cravings, and eventually addiction? The answer lies in biology. Meth doesn't just boost dopamine, it hijacks the brain's natural reward system. It convinces your neurons that this artificial high is better than anything else. And once your brain believes that, it starts to reprioritize. Food, sleep, connection, irrelevant. In places like Arizona, Ohio, or even small-town Nebraska, stories like Jake's play out every weekend. It starts as curiosity, a party, a need to belong. And suddenly, the brain rewires itself to chase one thing and one thing only. But can we really blame the brain for doing what it's designed to do, seek reward? What makes meth so seductive is also what makes it so dangerous. It's not evil, it's efficient. And that's the terrifying part. So, what would you do if your brain told you that nothing else matters but one more hit? Let's keep going because Jake's story is just getting started. At first, Jake thought he had found a secret weapon. A few hits of meth, and suddenly the shy guy in the corner became the life of the party. He was funnier, sharper, louder. People noticed. "Man, you're glowing lately," someone said at a house party in Tempe. Jake smiled, half flattered, half high. But what started as an experiment quickly became a ritual. Friday night? Gotta get some. Wedding next week? Can't go without it. Even a casual hangout now came with a question in Jake's mind. Do I have enough to get through the night? You see, meth doesn't just hijack your brain's pleasure system, it starts whispering into your identity. It says, "This is who you are now. The confident version, the real you." And that's a powerful lie. Jake started to believe that the version of him on meth was better, funnier, more attractive, more alive. So he used it not for the high anymore, but to feel normal. And that's when things began to slide. Conversations that used to flow naturally felt forced without it. At work, he faked being upbeat, but secretly longed for that spark. Without meth, everything seemed muted. His baseline happiness shrank. His confidence deflated. The science behind it? Dopamine tolerance. The more you flood your brain with artificial pleasure, the less it responds to everyday joy. It's like turning up the volume so loud your speakers break, then wondering why silence feels unbearable. So Jake started using more. Not to party, not even to feel great, just to feel okay. To talk, to be able to show up and laugh when someone told a joke. Meth became his mask, and soon he couldn't take it off. But here's a question. If a drug makes you feel like your best self, but only when you're using it, who is the real you? Let's keep going, because Jake's journey is about to hit harder and deeper than he ever imagined. Jake didn't notice the weight at first. In fact, people complimented him. "Dude, you're looking lean," someone said. And Jake laughed. Yeah, maybe meth had its perks. But meth doesn't just steal your appetite, it erases it. Day after day, Jake skipped meals without meaning to. His body, revved up by constant stimulation, stopped asking for fuel. Instead, it just kept burning fat, muscle, energy, whatever it could find. And eventually, there wasn't much left to burn. He started feeling dizzy, lightheaded when he stood up. His jeans, once snug, now sagged at the waist. His arms thinned, his face hollowed, but Jake kept pushing forward, wired and weightless. This is what happens when the body goes into starvation mode while the brain thinks it's on overdrive. Meth stimulates the central nervous system, suppresses hunger hormones, and pushes metabolism into turbo. It's like redlining a car engine with no gas in the tank. Then came the crashes. Nights turned into restless battles. Jake's brain, overstimulated, refused to shut down. He'd lie in bed for hours, tired, but vibrating. On good days, he caught 3 hours of fragmented sleep. On bad ones, none at all. Sleep isn't just rest, it's regulation. It's how your body heals, your brain processes, your immune system resets. Without it, Jake's body broke down. He got sick more often. Small colds lasted weeks. His skin grew pale. He was always cold, always exhausted. His muscles ached, but not from movement, from depletion. Worse, his mind followed. The lack of sleep and nutrition dulled his thoughts. Fog settled in. Decisions felt harder. His mood swung like a wrecking ball high, then crashing low. What once felt like power now felt like punishment. Jake was learning something Meth never advertised, that energy borrowed is always energy owed. So if the high is fast and the crash is brutal, what happens when your body can't recover between the two? Let's keep going because Jake's body is unraveling, and the next part hits even closer to home. Jake used to love Sunday dinners. His mum's meatloaf, his sister's loud laugh, the clatter of cutlery and comfort. But now, even the idea of sitting at that table made his skin itch. His parents started to notice the weight loss, the dark circles, the way he wouldn't look them in the eye. "You okay, honey?" his mom would ask. "Fine," he snapped. "Just tired. Work's been crazy." But it wasn't work, and everyone knew it. His dad tried to talk to him once, gently, carefully, but Jake exploded. "Why don't you trust me? I'm not a child." Except, he wasn't acting like himself anymore. At work, the cracks grew deeper. Jake missed deadlines, showed up late or not at all. When he was present, he was twitchy, impatient, distracted. He snapped at co-workers for small things. Once, he forgot an entire client meeting he had scheduled himself. His manager pulled him aside. "Is something going on?" Jake said no, but his job was hanging by a thread. And his girlfriend? She tried to understand. She stayed longer than most would. But love doesn't survive in the dark. Jake had become secretive, defensive. Every question felt like an accusation. Every hug felt like pressure. She didn't recognize the man who once wrote her poetry and danced with her in gas station parking lots. Eventually, she left, and Jake didn't even chase her. His social circle shrank too. Old friends stopped inviting him. He stopped replying. Parties became meth-fueled hangouts with people he barely knew, bonded not by trust or memories, but by the same craving. This is how isolation builds not all at once, but piece by piece. Meth doesn't just take your health, it takes your mirrors, those people who reflect who you were, who remind you what you care about. And without them, Jake floated, untethered, alone. So here's the question. When everyone who loves you starts to fade away, do you even notice when you're too high to care? Let's keep going, because Jake's body is breaking down from the inside out. Shall I continue to phase 5, severe health effects? It started with a toothache. Sharp, then constant. Jake figured it was just from grinding his teeth, something meth users often do. But then the gum swelled. His breath turned sour. And when he looked in the mirror, he saw it. A grey, crumbling molar near the back of his mouth. Meth mouth. Not just a street myth, a real, brutal consequence of constant drug use. Meth dries the mouth, reducing saliva, which protects teeth. It's also acidic. Combine that with poor hygiene and days of no sleep or food, and your teeth simply begin to rot. Jake lost one, then another, and soon, chewing even soft food became painful. But that wasn't all. His skin, once clear, began to break out in angry red sores. Meth gave him an itch he couldn't ignore. He scratched constantly, even in his sleep. Small bumps became open wounds. Those became infected. His arms and face bore the evidence. And Jake, once proud of how he looked, now avoided mirrors. He stopped smiling. He stopped showing up. Then came the nights when his heart betrayed him. It would pound, fast and erratic. His chest would tighten. His breath shortened. One night, while walking back from a corner store, he collapsed. Paramedics said it was a cardiac event. At the hospital, they mentioned arrhythmia and hypertension. They asked about drug use. Jake lied. But deep down, he knew. The heart is a muscle, and meth whips it into a frenzy. Too fast, too hard, too often. And eventually, it breaks. The scariest part? His brain was fading too. Jake couldn't remember things, appointments, names, even conversations from a day before. His thoughts felt foggy. His focus, gone. He reacted slower. His IQ hadn't just plateaued, it was dropping. Like a machine running low on electricity, his mind flickered, dimmer and dimmer. Meth had once made him feel invincible. Now, it was hollowing him out from the inside. So if your teeth fall out, your skin breaks, your heart flutters, and your thoughts vanish, are you still you? Let's keep going because Jake is about to lose more than his body. Would you like me to continue with Phase 6, psychosis and paranoia? Jake used to laugh at conspiracy theories. Aliens, government mind control, voices in the walls. Now, he wasn't so sure. It started small, a shadow in the corner of his eye, a whisper that vanished the moment he turned. He'd hear faint footsteps behind him on an empty street, feel watched through closed blinds. At first, he shrugged it off. Sleep deprivation, maybe, stress. But the whispers got louder. They said his friends were talking about him, that his phone was bugged, that the neighbors had installed cameras to monitor his every move. And Jake believed them. Meth-induced psychosis doesn't arrive with a warning. It seeps in slowly, then takes over. The brain, exhausted, underfed, chemically hijacked, can no longer sort reality from invention. Hallucinations become facts. Delusions become survival. Jake started accusing his roommate of spying. He unplugged his microwave, convinced it was listening. He ripped open his mattress, searching for wires. At work, when he still showed up, he glared at co-workers, whispered insults under his breath. One afternoon, after someone laughed in the break room, Jake punched a wall. They weren't laughing at him, but his brain told him otherwise. Paranoia changes everything. It poisons trust. Jake stopped answering calls from his mom. He blocked old friends. He avoided eye contact in public. Certain people were plotting against him. And when his girlfriend tried to visit, he screamed at her through the door, "I know what you're doing. Don't lie to me." She left. For good. The scariest part? Jake no longer knew what was real. Was the man across the street watching him or just walking his dog? Was that voice in his head his own? Meth had finally crossed the last line. It hadn't just taken Jake's health, it had stolen his reality. And once the mind breaks, how do you put it back together? Let's keep going because Jake is on the edge. And next comes the moment that finally breaks him. Shall I continue with Phase 7, the breaking point and seeking help? It was 3:17 a.m. when Jake hit the floor. His heart raced like a runaway engine. His skin burned cold. His hands shook so violently he couldn't hold his phone. The walls around him pulsed. The ceiling bent inward. And somewhere behind his eyes, a scream rose that never made it to his throat. He was sure he was dying. But even worse, he was sure someone wanted him to. He clawed for the door, made it outside, barefoot and hallucinating, convinced a drone was following him. He collapsed on the front lawn of his apartment building in Mesa, Arizona, sobbing and whispering apologies to no one. That night, something cracked. Not his body, it had been cracking for months. His denial. Jake was finally afraid. Later, in the white-blue light of the hospital room, with an IV in his arm and dried blood on his lip, a nurse leaned over and asked him softly, "Do you want help?" He nodded. Sometimes, change doesn't come from hope. It comes from terror. Jake called his mom that morning. His voice was barely above a whisper. He expected yelling, silence, blame. But what came instead was warmth. She cried. His dad drove down the same day. They didn't ask why. They just asked, "Where do we go from here?" And that's how Jake walked into a rehab center, not as a failure, but as someone finally ready to fight for himself. Detox was brutal. His body shook. He vomited. He couldn't sleep, couldn't think. Cravings hit like waves in a storm, loud, crushing, relentless. But slowly, painfully, he began to surface. The fog didn't lift all at once, but the hallucinations faded. His appetite returned. One day, he laughed at a joke, and it wasn't forced. That moment scared him, because it felt real. Recovery isn't instant. It isn't clean, but it starts with one moment of surrender, and Jake had found his. So, what does healing look like after destruction? Let's keep going, because Jake's road isn't over. It's just beginning. In the quiet of a sunlit therapy room, Jake finally spoke the words he had buried for years. "I think I never liked myself, unless I was high." His counselor didn't flinch. She just nodded patiently and asked, "When did that start?" That question, simple, human, was the beginning of everything. In treatment, Jake wasn't just learning how to stop using meth, he was learning why he ever needed it. They talked about pressure, about never feeling enough, about childhood moments that left cracks in his confidence, about how meth didn't create confidence, it masked pain. And every time Jake peeled back another layer, he felt a little lighter. In group therapy, he met others who had chased the same illusion. People with different stories, but the same ache. A former firefighter, a college dropout, a mum, a high school teacher. They cried together, laughed too. They cursed their past, but they didn't stay there. Each of them carried scars, but in that room, they didn't have to hide them. It wasn't perfect. Some nights, the cravings returned like ghosts. Some mornings, Jake woke up afraid he'd fail again. But now, when that fear came, he had tools. He had people. He had names and faces who said, "Me too." Jake began rebuilding. Slowly, carefully. He called his sister, went to his nephew's soccer game, started cooking again chili the way his dad liked it. He even volunteered to speak at a local recovery group, telling the story he once couldn't face. Jake isn't cured. That word doesn't mean much here. But he's healing, and that means everything. Because recovery isn't a finish line, it's a path. One he walks every day, sometimes shaky, sometimes steady, but never alone. So maybe the question isn't, can people change? Maybe it's, what do we become when we finally choose to? And for Jake, that answer is still being written. If this story made you think or feel, don't let it stop here. Like the video to show support. Share it with someone who might need to hear it. And subscribe to Inner Mind Nut for more powerful stories that go beneath the surface. Your mind matters. Let's explore it together.